So it was temporary because there was nothing in place. It was not temporary because this provision had to go. No. So Parliament, forget about the government. Parliament incorporated in 370 the provision for a constituent assembly. I asked myself this question, why? Why did Parliament do that? Parliament did not, there was no constituent assembly in place. There was only a national assembly. Let's go back. Let's go back, Mullahs, to 1950, 26th of January. Right? There was no constituent assembly. In fact, there was no decision. Originally, it was a national assembly. There was no decision to convert it through adult suffrage into a constituent assembly. So Parliament, forget about the government. Parliament incorporated in 370 the provision for a constituent assembly. I asked myself this question, why? Why did Parliament do that? Parliament did not, there was no constituent assembly in place. There was only a national assembly. This must have happened in collaboration with Jammu and Kashmir. Must have happened, Mullahs. That's why the term constituent assembly was included in 370 sub-article 3. Now, when they said in the proviso that it's on the recommendation, there was no constituent assembly. So it had to be a temporary provision. It couldn't be a permanent provision. And the preamble of the Constituent Assembly says to further define the relationship between Jammu and Kashmir and India. So it was temporary because there was nothing in place. It was not temporary because this provision had to go. No. And therefore, Mullah, that relationship was to be decided by the Jammu and Kashmir Constituent Assembly, which had to affirm all laws that had been passed. Even the laws could not be passed till such time it were confirmed during this period by the Constituent Assembly. So the Constituent Assembly actually was exercising a dual role at that point in time. And the government of India in 1950, in Parliament, recognized that it is the Constituent Assembly on the recommendation of which 370 will be abrogated. There would have been no constitution of Jammu and Kashmir. Let's put it that way. There would be no constitution of Jammu and Kashmir, Mullahs, if 370 had been abrogated. It would be yet another state of India.
Mr. Sibal, you've made your point now. I think basically, as we see it, your argument is in three layers. We looked at the background, the history. We look at 370 in the background, the constitutional history, the other history which we saw pre-independence. We interpret 370 therefore in the context of that history, and then we've gone to the modalities which were followed for abrogation, which you have said is unconstitutional. Now, after having explored this terrain,
well,
which is the next, how do we now
come back to the list of dates, Mullah.
Right.
May I, with your 2 minutes, I'll take. There is a speech by Muzaffar M.A. Beg, Afzal Beg. Just it'll take only.
Just give us the page and the gist of it. You can tell us.
It's 694 PDF 694. It's only temporariness of the article. That's why that's the last person. You need not go through it. It refers to the temporary nature of the article.
It would be in the same vein as Mir Qasim's speech at 648.
And Mullahs, kindly note this, he was a representative of Jammu and Kashmir in India's Constituent Assembly. There were 3 members total. He was one of them. So he was part of the Constituent Assembly of India as well. I said that a good deal of criticism was leveled in both houses of Parliament of India and in the outside press in regard to the intention of 370, that it is a temporary article and the special position of Kashmir ipso facto is of temporary nature. This raised doubts and suspicions not only in the minds of the people of the state, but also in the minds of our colleagues sitting in this house about our relationship with India and Kashmir had peculiar position in 1947. It has now. That peculiar position is a permanent character of the state. It would be unfair to say that this position is a temporary nature. Statements have been made that in due course of time, 370 will cease to exist and Kashmir is bound to become a Part B state. Expressions like these have in fact given rise to amendments proposed by honorable members to the statements of the Leader of the House. Some of these amendments are critical and some are unfriendly. And then he goes on to say that we did not even know that there was a note, a marginal note in this regard. This has just come up suddenly. We didn't know that there was a margin. Nobody told us that there'd be a marginal note. So anyway, that's all that he says. I just wanted to invite my Lord's attention to. So in my supplementary submissions, only I have set out these passages, nothing more than that. And so last try, so long as it is not completed, Article 370 will remain there. And when it reaches completion, we shall give to Paul what Paul's and what gives to Peter what Peter's. This is the center. That is, center will have the exceeded subject and the rest will remain here. 370 will have to be accordingly altered. It would not mean that Kashmir state will cease to have its special position. Amending 370 may be necessary at the time when we finalize our constitution. But even then, legally, constitution as it cannot in any way rob Kashmir of its special privileges and position given to it by common agreement. 370 is therefore temporary till we complete our constitution. That's the spirit with which it was incorporated in the Constitution of India. This is the point, Malak. Anyway, Malak, so that's what I've done with this. Now kindly come back to the list of dates. Yes, we were at serial 71 in written submissions, compilation volume 2, PDF 53. The governor of the state of Jammu and Kashmir gave a press statement on the night of 3rd of August that he was not aware of any proposal to amend 370 or Article 35A, and that all security arrangements and reinforcements of the state were being made pursuant to intelligence inputs forecasting a major terror incident. On the 5th of August at 11 a.m., on August 5, the President issued the impugned order titled the Constitution Application to Jammu and Kashmir Order 2019. This is CO 272. But let's therefore mark, it's an executive act. The said order issued under Article 371 with the purported concurrence of the government of the state of Jammu and Kashmir inserted Article 367(4) of the Constitution of India. So that's what CO 20272 did. In particular, the newly inserted Article 367(4)(c) stated that references in the Constitution to the government of the state of Jammu and Kashmir would be construed as including references to the governor of Jammu and Kashmir.